Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Wall Street treads with caution ahead of the US Fed rate decision that's expected later tonight. Bulls reclaim more lost ground on Dalal Street. The Nifty moves back above 23,000. Mid-caps recoup losses too. Maruti Suzuki meets estimates in Q3. Revenue up 16%, profits rise 13%. Tata Motors misses estimates in Q3 despite Jaguar Land Rover posting a strong growth. 30 people are confirmed dead, 60 injured after a stampede at the Maha Kumbh in Prayagraj. The UP police say barricades broke due to crowd swell in the early morning hours. Opposition accuses the state government of mismanagement. The government steps in as airfares to Prayagraj remain sky high. The Aviation Ministry holds a meeting with top airline executives. Government sources say airlines have been told to ensure a return ticket from Delhi to Prayagraj should not exceed 24,000 rupees. CNBC TV 18's Newsbreak has confirmed the cabinet approves a 16,300 crore rupee mission to develop 24 critical minerals over the next 6 years. The cabinet also clears the ethanol price hike, leading to a rally in sugar stocks. After Rashtriya Ispat Nigam, the government may adopt a strategy to revive select PSUs that are financially weak. Sources say the government is not in favour of banks taking haircuts. Fund infusion, mergers and consolidation are some of the options on the table. A setback for crisis-hit Byju. The company law tribunal restores the status of financial creditors to US lenders and Aditya Birla Finance on the committee of creditors. The court says the insolvency professional had reconstituted the COC without any explanation. The head of India's quantum mission, Ajay Chaudhary, says China's DeepSeek is a wake-up call, calls for emergency focus on Indian artificial intelligence models. That's an exclusive. The Trump administration gives federal workers time till Feb 6 to make a choice, return to office full-time or resign and get paid till September. This comes days after Trump's executive order on a return to office mandate. The US government also made it clear that even employees who choose to stay on may eventually bear the brunt of downsizing. After a prolonged decline due to the pandemic, students are making a modest recovery on learning outcomes, according to the annual Status of Education report. But a majority of children in Class 3 and 5 are still unable to read a Class 2 level text or solve simple math problems. Well, let's start with the market action. A day of recovery that we saw on Dalal Street today. The sensex and the Nifty managed to close in the green for the second day running, but thanks to a broad-based buying, the Nifty reclaiming the 23,100 mark, while the sensex moved beyond 76,533, up by almost 1%. The Nifty Bank higher by about 0.5% or so. The mid-caps also saw a bit of a turnaround today, gaining about 2.3% this afternoon. So that was the story as far as our markets were concerned. By the way, the MCX has also announced that it will remain open for normal trade on the 1st of February. That is in line with the union budget. Remember, the NSE and the BSE had already said that they will open for normal trade on the 1st of February, which happens to be a Saturday, which, of course, the markets are typically closed on. But because it is the union budget, all markets will be functioning. Now, the US Fed has commenced a two-day policy meeting yesterday. This is its first policy meeting in the second term of President Donald Trump. Now, the latest Fed survey by CNBC highlights that 65% of respondents see two rate cuts in 2025 and 61% forecast at least one cut in 2026. On Trump's tariff threats, 77% of the respondents see it as a negative for inflation and 73% said it's negative for growth. You can, of course, catch the entire coverage of the Fed meet from 11 p.m. onwards right here on CNBC TV 18. Get the CNBC advantage. On to earnings corner. Auto major Maruti Suzuki's Q3 numbers in line with street estimates, but no such luck for Tata Motors, which missed the mark despite a strong performance coming in from JLR. Sudarshan is standing by to wrap up both Tata Motors and Maruti's quarter. Sud.
Today, two major four-wheeler companies have reported earnings. So first, talk about Maruti. Earnings were absolutely in line with estimates, but the stock today has closed with minor cuts. The reason? It has outperformed its peers in January so far. Stock of Maruti in January was up 10% against 9% fall for both M&M and Hyundai. So what all factors have worked for Maruti? First, volumes were up both sequentially and year-on-year. Second, realization has seen a fall, but it's in line with estimates. Third, EBITDA margin has fallen by 30 bips, but again, it has outperformed Hyundai. Now, on commentary, we'll have to see what exactly company says on demand front, and second, if it increases industry guidance for FY25. Now, coming to Tata Motors, earnings have seen a strong rebound sequentially, but overall earnings are looking lower than estimates. But on JLR front, it has reported a strong set of earnings. Talking about the earnings, profit was down 23%, revenue has increased 13%, and margin has come in at 11.5%, much lower than our estimate of 13.7%. That was year-on-year. But if you talk about sequentially, profit was up 63%, revenue has increased by 12%, and EBITDA has increased by 12%. What exactly company says on outlook? For domestic business, it says domestic demand to improve on infrastructure spends in Q4. For JLR, it maintains EBIT margin guidance of 8.5% or more than that. Also, it says it's on track to achieve its profitability and cash flow targets in FY25. So for Maruti, earnings were absolutely in line. For Tata Motors, overall earnings, it was a miss. But on JLR, it's a very strong set of earnings. Also, outlook is looking positive.
Sid, many thanks for joining us. And let's stay with earnings. Bajaj Finance reporting a steady set of numbers for Q3, both net profit, net interest margins in line with street estimates. On an annual basis, net profit rose more than 18%, while net interest income jumped nearly 23%. Adani-owned Ambuja Cements posted a 17% year-on-year volume growth in Q3, profits up 242% year-on-year, and that's on account of a significant rise in other income, which stood at 730 crore rupees. Revenues up 13% along with total income that rose by 28%. Margins, however, have seen a sharp contraction compared to last year. The cement company also said that its board has approved an open offer to acquire up to 26% stake in Orient Cement. ITC Hotels making its Dalal Street debut, listing at a 31% discount from its implied price of 260 rupees a share. The stock listed at 180 rupees a share after the demerger. This is in line with analyst expectations. But the big story, 30 people now confirmed dead, 60 injured after a stampede at the Maha Kumbh in Prayagraj early this morning. President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi have expressed their condolence to the victims' families. The stampede occurred between 1 to 2 a.m. this morning. The UP police addressed the media 17 hours after the stampede occurred and provided details on the casualties. The incident occurred as crowds converged at the Sangam, the place where the Ganga and Yamuna rivers meet. The UP police said barricades broke due to the crowd surge, resulting in overcrowding. Eyewitness accounts described chaotic scenes. The opposition has accused the UP government of mismanagement. While offering their condolence, the Congress Party President Mallikarjun Kharge blamed VIP movement and half-baked arrangements. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav urged the state government to help those affected.
प्रातः 1 बजे से 2 बजे के मध्य मेला क्षेत्र में अखाड़ा मार्ग पर भारी भीड़ का दबाव बना और इस भीड़ के दबाव के कारण दूसरी ओर के बैरिकेड्स टूट गए और भीड़ के लोग बैरिकेड्स बांधकर दूसरी तरफ ब्रह्म मुहूर्त के स्नान का इंतजार कर रहे श्रद्धालुओं को कुचलना शुरू कर दिया। यद्यपि प्रशासन ने तत्काल राहत और बचाव कार्य करते हुए ग्रीन कॉरिडोर बनाया और एम्बुलेंस के माध्यम से लगभग 90 घायलों को अस्पताल तक पहुंचाया, परंतु इसमें से दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण तरीके से 30 श्रद्धालुओं की दुखद मृत्यु हो गई है।
भीड़ इसी घाट पे आ गई थी और उसके वजह से डाइवर्ट करने में जाने और आने वाले दोनों आपस में हो गए थे। उसी में धक्का मुक्की की वजह से
यही कहीं सो रहे थे आप?
यही सो रहे थे। हम लोग स्नान करने के आए थे 12 बजे के आसपास। 1 बजे के पास की घटना है।
हाँ।
और 1 बजे के आसपास ही हमारा भी बैग खो गया।
क्या पूरा रेला आया हुआ था?
पूरा रेला आया हुआ था। बहुत ज्यादा भीड़।
Well, that is the latest now. A confirmation coming in from the UP police, 30 dead, 60 injured. That is the count. The government has stepped in as airfares to Prayagraj remain sky high. Government sources have told CNBC TV 18 that airlines have been told to ensure a return ticket from Delhi to Prayagraj should not exceed 24,000 rupees. Madhya standing by with more. Madhya, we've of course been reporting about skyrocketing airfares and now the Aviation Ministry seems to be suggesting that there should be a ceiling, at least on some routes.
That's correct. This is the second time in a week that government officials met airlines to discuss exorbitant airfares to Prayagraj given the massive influx of pilgrims. But today's meeting was chaired by Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu himself, along with Aviation Secretary and the Chief of DGC, along with other senior officials from the ministry. Now, sources within the government have revealed that airlines have been instructed to ensure that the return airfare for the Delhi-Prayagraj route do not exceed 24,000 rupees and 12,000 rupees one-way fare. So 24,000 rupees round trip Delhi to Prayagraj should not exceed 24,000 rupees. Airlines have also assured the Civil Aviation Ministry of lowering airfares on other routes to Prayagraj as well. In addition, airlines have been told to direct their travel booking partners to avoid any unreasonable hike in ticket prices, particularly in light of the surge in demand for the Maha Kumbh. While prices have seen some reduction, especially on Delhi to Prayagraj route, the fares for a round trip from Delhi to Prayagraj scheduled between February 3rd and 11th are now priced between 20,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees. Remember, when we checked the fares yesterday, two-way airfare from Delhi to Prayagraj was as high as 60,000 rupees. However, for flights from other cities, there could be more scope for further reduction. For instance, a round trip from Mumbai to Prayagraj during the same period, which is Feb 3rd to 11, airfares still range between 40,000 to 50,000 rupees. Similarly, for those flying from Ahmedabad, ticket prices are hovering between 31,000 to 70,000 rupees. It remains to be seen whether airfares will fall further after government's repeated intervention, especially as the demand continues to rise.
All right, many thanks, Madiha, for joining us. CNBC TV 18's Newsbreak confirmed the Union Cabinet has approved a 16,300 crore rupee mission to develop 24 critical minerals over the next 6 years. Public sector units will invest 18,000 crore rupees separately in the mission. Meanwhile, sugar stocks surging in trade today, up 7%. This development after the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved the ethanol price hike. The Union government has raised the price of ethanol derived from C-heavy molasses to 57.97 rupees a litre from the current 56.5 rupees under the ethanol blended programme. The government may adopt a strategy to revive select PSUs that are financially weak. Sources tell CNBC TV 18 the government is not in favour of banks taking haircuts. So fund infusion, mergers and consolidation are some of the options on the table. Rashtriya Ispat Nigam is likely to receive one more fund infusion tranche to address its bank debt. As the budget draws near, there's a lot of buzz and hope around possible relaxation on the personal income tax front, especially for people who've opted for the new tax regime. Timsy looks at the government's tax collections, the run rate so far in FY25 to get a sense of whether the government has any cushion to offer any relaxation. Timsy, what are the numbers looking like?
Well, 9 months of the financial year are almost done and dusted, and the tax collection pictures show a pretty healthy trend. The government had budgeted for a total direct tax collection of 22.07 lakh crore rupees for the fiscal, and as of 12th of January 2025, it had already collected over 93% of this amount, which is 20.64 lakh crore rupees. The biggest outperformer for the government has been securities transaction tax. With the euphoria in the stock markets for a major portion of the year, STT collections have come in at over 44,000 crore rupees as of January, much more than the 37,000 crore rupees which was budgeted for the entire year. That's not to say that the other areas of direct tax collections have not chalked up a decent run rate. The government has already collected 95% of the 10.2 lakh crore rupees budgeted for corporate tax collections, and the gap is just around 48,000 crore rupees. That should be easily achievable in the last quarter and could even be surpassed. On the personal tax front, over 90% of the target has already been achieved. But here the gap is a little wider, a little over 1 lakh crore rupees. However, experts say even this gap in personal income tax could be covered over the next 3 months. And even thereafter, when a lot of people file their returns, they pay extra taxes at the return filing time. Incidentally, the government also has an extra cushion apart from this. They have a cushion of nearly 3,000 crore rupees from other taxes like equalization levy. We will get a clearer picture of where the government hopes to end the year when the revised estimates are released along with the budget on the 1st of February. But there seems to be a good chance that collections across the segments will surpass budget estimates comfortably, much like they did in FY24, which you can see here. So the hope is that This should give the government enough comfort to go ahead and offer taxpayers some relief on the personal income tax front and give consumption a boost, provided the government decides not to be extra cautious about future tax revenues given economic headwinds and global uncertainties.
All right, Tinsi, many thanks for joining us. How much headroom does the government have now to be able to provide some relief? That was a look at the numbers. Starbucks' quarterly earnings and revenues topping Wall Street estimates. However, its same-store sales fell for Q4. The coffee giant saw same-store sales slip 4% due to a 6% decline in visits to its stores. Remember, Starbucks has kicked off a turnaround plan last quarter in the hopes of reviving its U.S. business, which has slumped over the past year under its new CEO. The turnaround has now been put in place. Google Maps says it will change the name of Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America once it is officially updated in the U.S. geographic name systems. For those accessing Google Maps in Mexico, the name Gulf of Mexico will appear. Outside of the two countries, users will see both names on Google Maps. The announcement comes days after the Trump administration said it had officially changed the name of the ocean basin to Gulf of America. Up next on India Business Hour, curbs on e-commerce, eviction of illegal hawkers and an end to the monkey menace. Delhi traders have a list of demands for the next government. Catch all of CNBC TV 18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. Fresh setback for crisis-hit Byju. The company law tribunal has restored the status of financial creditors to U.S. lenders and Aditya Birla Finance on the committee of creditors. The court has said that the insolvency professional had reconstituted the COC without any explanation. Ashmit joins us now with the details. Ashmit, so certainly relief there as far as the U.S. lenders are concerned, a setback for Byju's.
Well, indeed, a setback coming in for them because the U.S. lenders constitute 99.4% of the outstanding dues that Byju's are looking at, that Byju's have to confront with in the course of these insolvency proceedings. Those U.S. lenders constituting 99.4% of dues are back as financial creditors, are back on the COC, and that's happening after today's NCLT order. Now, bear in mind that in September of last year, the IRP had acted to remove the U.S. lenders from the COC, remove them as financial creditors, calling them as contingent liabilities. Now, this was challenged by the U.S. lenders. And in the course of these proceedings, there were several cases of misconduct that the NCLT has taken objection to as far as the IRP is concerned. In fact, the NCLT makes very stern observations that the IRP seemed keen on misleading the NCLT, misleading the tribunal altogether, that the conduct has not been fit and proper. There are cases of backdating of applications. There are cases where important details have been withheld from the tribunal, and essentially concluding the NCLT that this is a fit case not just for investigation but also disciplinary action by the IBBI, and saying that the IRP needs to be removed. And importantly, with the removal of IRP, his order, which had removed the U.S. lenders from the COC, also now stands quashed. So essentially, the NCLT restoring the U.S. lenders, bringing the U.S. lenders back on board at the COC, giving them a seat at the table, again, to constitute 99.4% of the voting share on the COC.
All right, Ashmit, appreciate you joining us. Microsoft and OpenAI investigating whether data from ChatGPT makers' technology was obtained in an unauthorized manner by a group linked to Chinese artificial intelligence startup DeepSeek. Now, this comes after DeepSeek sparked a tech stock sell-off after investors worried about heightened competition. According to a report by Bloomberg, Microsoft security researchers observed individuals believed to be connected to DeepSeek filtrating a large amount of data from OpenAI. And speaking of DeepSeek, the head of India's quantum mission, Ajay Chaudhary, says the Chinese platform is a wake-up call for Indian tech. Chaudhary's also called for an emergency focus, in his words, on Indian artificial intelligence models. Take a look.
Last year in the budget, government had announced a 1 lakh crore budget for R&D in India. I think that needs to be put on fast track. Consider this as a huge wake-up call for us. It should be treated like emergency. And if we want to really go after it, we should go after it in a very big way. We should invite all kinds of companies. We should invite software companies. We should invite startups. And we should put out challenges for them to create LLMs in India with Indian languages, etc., etc. So I think there is a requirement for us to move very, very, very fast.
Move very quickly, very fast. That's Ajay Chaudhary on India's AI race. US President Donald Trump has invited Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to the White House on the 4th of February. The two leaders are likely to discuss peace in West Asia and methods to counter adversaries. This trip will make Netanyahu the first foreign leader to visit the White House under the Donald Trump regime. Sticking with the US, the Trump administration has given federal workers time till the 6th of February to return to office full-time or resign. Workers who choose to resign will receive pay and benefits until September. The US government has also made it clear that even employees who choose to stay on may eventually bear the brunt of downsizing. This comes days after Trump's executive order on a return to office mandate. A US federal judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration's order to freeze aid for several federal grant programs. The stay will last until Monday afternoon and applies only to existing programs. The Trump administration has said that programs that provide direct assistance to Americans will not be affected. This will include Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, student loans, and food stamps. Well, back home, Delhi is not only the national capital, it's also a bustling business hub. 20 lakh traders spread across 700 markets call the city home and make up an electorate that no political party looking to rule the Union Territory can afford to ignore. Abhimanyu Sharma reports that these traders have a long list of demands from the next government, demands that go beyond just poor infrastructure. Take a look.
This sweet shop in Old Delhi's Kashmiri Gate is over a century old, but it's losing out on business. Not because of e-commerce and not because the civic infrastructure around it is crumbling. Their grouse is that a problem that has been an issue for years has not been dealt with.
यहाँ पे बंदरों की बहुत प्रॉब्लम है, बहुत कस्टमर को बड़ी दिक्कत होती है, सामान खा नहीं सकते, लेके नहीं जा सकते।
एक टॉयलेट बना हुआ 6 जनों का, उसके ऊपर कोई शेड नहीं, कोई पानी नहीं, इतनी गंदगी रहती है वहाँ पे, और जबकि एमसीडी का ऑफिस हमारे सामने है।
The Agrawals are just two among the trader community, which makes up over 10% of Delhi's electorate. It's a segment of the populace that can make or break the fortunes of any political party. And there's frustration in this community. For one, they feel they are not getting their due when it comes to protection from competition or infrastructure development.
जो बड़ी ई-कॉमर्स कंपनियां हैं, उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस हथिया लिया है, तो हमारे जो रिटेल मार्केट्स हैं, जो छोटे छोटे दुकानदार हैं, वो ई-कॉमर्स से कम्पीट कर सकें। दिल्ली बाजार पोर्टल सरकार बनाए, दिल्ली के तमाम व्यापारियों के मार्केट वाइज और उसके ट्रेड वाइज रजिस्टर्ड हो।
Traders are not visiting Delhi because of pollution, because of traffic jam, because of non-development of commercial markets.
Many times the legal hawker comes and complain to us that there are illegal hawkers who are sitting at, make a market somewhere, let these people sit over there like a flea market what you have abroad.
They also feel they are not consulted before new policies that affect their livelihood are implemented. And clearances for even simple business-related activities like renovations have become cumbersome.
व्यापारी दूध देने वाली गाय है। सरकार एक ट्रेड एंड इंडस्ट्री डेवलपमेंट बोर्ड का गठन करे, जिसमें जाने माने तमाम सेक्टर के व्यापारी हों। हर महीने में सरकार के साथ उस बोर्ड की मीटिंग हो। सिंगल विंडो सिस्टम व्यापारी चाहते हैं कि एक ही विंडो के नीचे आपको डीपीसीसी है, फायर है, जल बोर्ड है, पीडब्ल्यूडी है, बिजली का है, तमाम तरह के लाइसेंस के लिए अलग-अलग डिपार्टमेंट के चक्कर ना काटने पड़े।
People do come, the representative to come, but after election it is difficult to reach them. If you want to do any development in Connaught Place, the market association should be taken into account. Structural work is being done without our knowledge. Today, if I have to repair my shop, I have to take a permission from the Heritage Conservation Committee. This process sometimes takes 3 to 6 months.
The lack of customer-friendly amenities is a recurring complaint at many of Delhi's 700 markets.
There is no woman toilet. There is no parking. विधायक आते हैं, चले जाते हैं, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट आती है, चली जाती है, कुछ भी नहीं हो पा रहा.
Traders say the high taxes they have to pay are also a pain point, especially considering they are facing stiff competition from new age traders who don't have as many overheads.
कोरोना के टाइम पे लोगों को आदत पड़ गई घर बैठे चीज लेने की, प्रिस्क्रिप्शन भी अपलोड नहीं करते हैं और वो दवाई मिल जाती है उनको। हमारे लिए कंपल्शन है कि नहीं प्रिस्क्रिप्शन चाहिए। ऑनलाइन अगर सारा बिजनेस खा जाएगा तो हम लोग कहाँ जाएंगे? तो जो रिटेलर्स हैं ना, काउंटर लेके बैठे हुए हैं, उनके अपने खर्चे हैं, वो कहाँ से पूरे करेंगे?
A lot of the traders we spoke to are worried that unless some of these issues are addressed by the next government, Delhi's once thriving trading community may be reduced to a shadow of what it was. A level playing field with e-commerce, removal of illegal hawkers, ease in compliances and creation of a separate government board for the welfare of traders are a few key asks of the fraternity from the new government in Delhi. However, beyond political will, fulfilling these demands would require consensus between the centre and the Delhi government, which has been scant in the past 11 years. In New Delhi, this is Abhimanyu Sharma for CNBC TV 18.
After a prolonged decline due to the pandemic, students are making a modest recovery on learning outcomes as per the annual Status of Education report. However, a majority of children in Class 3 and 5 are still unable to read a Class 2 level text or solve simple math problems. Kiran reports on the key findings of the survey, which covered nearly 6.5 lakh children in over 17,900 villages. Kiran, what does it say?
Learning levels of children aged between 6 and 14 years are recovering from the post-pandemic losses in India's rural districts, and it looks like government schools are leading the way. As per the annual Status of Education report 2024, the number of Class 3 children who could read a Class 2 textbook in government schools stood at 23%. This was up from 16% in 2022 and nearly 21% in 2018. It is also the highest since the inception of the survey. The All India figure, which includes both government and private schools, also improved. However, private schools are yet to reach pre-pandemic levels. The trend is similar when it comes to Class 5 children who could read Class 2 level text. In government schools, the figure fell from 44% in 2018 to below 40% in 2022 and then rose again to nearly 45% in 2014. The All India figure stood close to pre-pandemic levels when it comes to this. The arithmetic levels of children too saw gains across schools in rural districts. The number of Class 3 students who could do at least subtraction improved from 28% in 2018 to over 33% in 2024. Meanwhile, the number of Class 5 children who could do division rose from 28% in 2018 to nearly 31% in 2024. Even though the report brings good news in terms of recovery, most students in the age group still cannot read standard 2-level text, and there's a lot more scope for improvement. For the first time, the report also included a section on digital literacy. It found that 82% of children in the 14 to 16 age group know how to use a smartphone. However, there's a notable gap between boys and girls. Access to smartphones has become nearly universal, but the usage differed. 57% used it for educational activity, while 76% used it for social media. Of the children who use social media, over 60% knew how to block or report a profile, while over 57% knew how to change a password.
All right, Kiran, many thanks for joining us. That's important news there, the state of education and literacy as per the USSR survey. On this edition of India Business Hour, it's time for us to say goodbye. Thanks very much for watching. The news will continue right here on CNBC TV 18. And of course, do remember to stay tuned. We've got all the coverage live from the post-Fed meeting coming up right here on CNBC TV 18 starting 11 p.m.